Well, good morning. How is everybody doing? Good. You know, we still have smoke, but it's not quite as bad. I know we can see across the river now. That was the part that was scary. Well, welcome to the home of Unitarian Universalism in Central Washington. I'm Steve Clem. I will be leading our worship service today. Our minister, Reverend Thomas Perchley, retired effective July 31, and we are currently a lay-led congregation, while we're in a minister's search through the National Unitarian Universalist Association. So today's service is entitled UU Evangelism? Huh? All right. So, hey, just 1 second. Hey, Vern, can we turn this down just a little bit on this mic? We're good. Okay. So, UU Evangelism. Huh? Before there's a mass exodus to the parking lot, I assure you that the evangelism we'll explore today is not evangelism preaching fire, brimstone, and eternal damnation. So, try to trust me on this. You might be surprised. If you are a visitor in person or by Zoom, we are so glad you are here. And this morning we welcome every person of goodwill, just as you are, whomever you love, whatever body you inhabit, whatever your age, you are welcome. We invite you to join us for coffee, treats, and conversation after the service, both in person and on Zoom. And if you are attending remotely on Zoom, you can find the order of service in the chat. For everyone here in our building, can we please turn and wave to our friends on Zoom. And now, please take a moment and greet those around you today, especially someone you don't know that well. Okay. Oh, good. The cats have been herded. That's a joke. Herding cats, herding Unitarians. Okay. So many people work behind the scenes to support our Sunday worship services, and we have a few corrections from the order of service. And we want to thank our greeters and musicians and our tech support, the announcement loop creator, and service graphics creator, and for our Zoom host and coffee host, the care team, and our religious educators. Today we have a few announcements. Todd and Sharon Pettit are looking for someone that can help them with a weekly ride to and from Sunday services. Todd and Sharon live near the Safeway on 5th Street in Wenatchee, and please reach out to them if you can help. And Sharon and Todd, I saw you here today, and they're right there. Raise your hand, Todd. There you go. That's Todd, that's Sharon. Okay. Thank you for being here. So if you can help Todd and Sharon, please speak with them today. Immediately after the service, there will be a brief organizational meeting for the Labor Day weekend campout at Squelchuck State Park. Okay. Brief organizational meeting. The Cabo Confederated Tribes are grateful for all the donations of money and materials that CUF members and others have given to the victims of the Kaiser Canyon fire. Thank you. However, they would request that no more materials be donated at this time. Sounds like they have quite a bit that they're trying to organize and store. Oh, can't hear me. All right. All right. I will try to speak up. I will say the Colville Confederated Tribes are grateful for all the donations of money and materials from members and others that have been given to the victims of the Kaiser Canyon fire. They apparently have enough material donations right now. They are very happy to receive monetary donations, but material donations are not needed. And finally, the worship team welcomes your comments about our worship services. So there are cards on the backs of the chairs. You may fill out and drop into the name tag basket at the end of the service. And please remember to complete your worship service survey in print or online. And now, we acknowledge what has come before us. Today we gather on the ancestral lands of the Wenatchee Pasquosa people, the original stewards of the region. And for thousands of years, the Wenatchee Pasquosa have lived in communion with the land, from Lake Wenatchee down to the Wenatchee River and across the Columbia. They still live here and practice their cultural traditions. As a faith community, we recognize that this land was taken from the Wenatchee Pasquosa people through broken treaty obligations and settlement by uninvited colonists. We stand in solidarity with our indigenous neighbors as they uphold their traditions and advocate for recognition of their inherent rights. We do this by respecting tribal leadership and by supporting their priorities. Now, for our opening congregational singing, please rise in body and spirit as you are able to join in Come, Come, whoever you are. Today's call to worship is from the writing of Reverend Sophia Lyon Foss. And so it's a call and response. So please join in the response to each call. Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding children's days with fears of unknown calamities. Some beliefs are divisive, separating the saved from the unsaved, friends from enemies. Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction. Some beliefs weaken a person's selfhood. They blight the growth of resourcefulness. Some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world. Come, let us worship together and light our chalice. A flame within a chalice is a primary symbol of a Unitarian Universalist faith tradition, and chalices all over the world are being lit today at Unitarian Universalist gatherings. If you are joining today by video, please light your own chalice as well. We now kindle this sacred flame and join in our traditional words. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to speak and speak to share. So this morning, let's see how that goes. It's pretty loud. This time, our Time for All Ages story is the feast, which is adopted from an Islamic folktale. And you may have heard a version of the story. I don't see that we have any children. Young children, excuse me. We have older children. Okay, all right. So this is a story about Nazru. Nazru was an elder of the village and a farmer. And he was working all day in his fields. And as you can imagine, he was dirty. He was dusty. He had mud all over his shoes. And he was working with the animals, so he probably had other stuff all over him too. But he was really hungry. And why was he so hungry? Because he had been fasting. It was the last day of Ramadan. And the fast was going to be broken today at sundown. And what was going to happen? The wealthiest man in the village was putting on a feast. Oh, Nazareth was so excited because he was also so hungry, but he was excited because he knew there was going to be everyone from the village there. And there was going to be a chicken and beef and dates and figs. There was going to be falafel. There were going to be wonderful desserts like baklava. But he knew he had to get there, and he was running late. So he said, all right, I'm not going to go home first. I'm not going to change. I'm just going to go. And so he walked to the house, and as he was walking, he kept imagining all the plates of food and how wonderful they were. And it was a smile on his face, and he thought about all the work he had done and how that work was helping his village. And he got to the front door, and the host opened the door, looked at him, and up and down, and scornfully kind of went, turned around and walked away. So Nazareth went in and looked, and there's throngs of people. Everybody from the village is there. And there are plates of food everywhere, just as he imagined. Just the same picture he had in his head of all the wonderful food for the feast. And no one acknowledged him. I mean, he knew everyone in the village. He was one of the elders, right? And he was a farmer that fed the village. But no one talked to him. And he walked over to the table, and no one would slide over and make room for him to sit. He was so confused, and frankly, he was so uncomfortable, he left. He went home and said, okay, I'm going to put on my fancy clothes. And he put on his best clothes, including a beautiful coat. Walked back, knocked on the door. Nazareth, how are you? Welcome to my home. It is so good to see you, Nazareth. It's so good to see you. Please come on in. Please come on in. And as he walked into the room, into the great room where the feast was being held, people were saying, Nazareth, hello, come sit with us. Come sit with us. Come on, Nazareth. And Nazareth finally he sat down. And all of a sudden, trays of food are being put in front of him. And he looks down at the trays of food, grabs a fig, and says, eat, coat, eat. And he puts the fig in his pocket. And then he sees some nuts, and he grabs a big handful of nuts, and he puts them in the other pocket and says, eat. Eat, coat, isn't that good? And then he starts going more quickly. He's putting baklava. He's putting dates. He's putting all the food on the platters inside every pocket that he has. Well, all of a sudden, there's silence. Everyone is staring at Nazareth. And the host comes forward and says, Nazareth, what are you doing? What are you doing? And Nazareth says, well, I came here in my farm clothes. I wasn't welcomed. No one said anything to me. No one made room for me at a table. And then I went home and I changed. And I wore my best coat, and all of a sudden, everyone had me welcomed in enthusiastically. So, really, I was not the one that was welcome. It must have been my coat. So I'm feeding it. And that's our story. Our wisdom readings are two. One is from Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce tribe. And he told the government, in response to the statement that the government was going to create schools for the Nez Perce, we do not want the white man's schools. They will teach us about churches. We do not want churches. They will teach us to quarrel about God. We do not want to learn that. We may quarrel with people sometimes about things here on earth, but we never quarrel about God. And we do not want to learn that. And these words by songwriter Brandon Heath. Give me your eyes for just 1 second. Give me your eyes so I can see everything that I keep missing. Give me your love for humanity. Give me your arms for the brokenhearted, the ones far beyond my reach. Give me your heart for the ones forgotten. Give me your eyes so I can see. Evangelism. Well, for those of you who are perhaps new to our congregation or visiting for the first time, during this talk, I'm going to be using some initials. So when I mention UU, that's Unitarian Universalism. When I mention UUA, that is our national association, the Unitarian Universalist Association. And when I say CUF, CUUF, that is this congregation, the Cascade Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. So, let's talk about evangelism. You know, negative thoughts and reactions to evangelism are not uncommon among Unitarian Universalists. Many of us are here because of prior church experiences. And just evangelism as a word can feel kind of icky, right? So, what's your reaction to the word evangelism? Just tell me what you think. Yeah, what was that, Roxanne? Yeah, anybody else? Pushy, yeah, pushy. Okay. Recruiting, it is recruiting, yes. Okay, Larry, what? Enthusiasm. Okay, so I'm hearing some negatives and some positives, right? That's interesting. I didn't expect to hear any positives from this group. So what I would like you to do now is just turn to the persons around you. And you can stand if you want to. I'll herd you all back in. But go ahead and share your thoughts and feelings about evangelism. Ready, set, go. It's an important distinction because in our modern world, let's at least say the last 40 years, the definitions have kind of blurred and they've crossed over. Because proselytizing is the aggressive or persuasive recruiting or conversion of persons to a different faith. And it's often associated with the use of guilt and or fear as manipulation. Where evangelism is the sometimes loving, always respectful sharing of information or a message with the intention to attract people to a faith or an organization or even a place, but while honoring and encouraging freedom of choice. And this is the evangelism we're going to talk about today. Because our roots as Unitarian Universalists have a long history of evangelism. Didn't know that, I bet. But it does. Going back to the early 19th century, the Universalists had the Evangelist newsletter that came out weekly and the Evangelical magazine that was published quarterly. And evangelism is still a current focus of the UUA. Okay, on their website, uua.org, I want to go there. Using the keyword evangelism and conducting a search, there were 321 hits from the website, pointing to articles, sermons, worship resources. And you probably weren't aware that there is a UUA curriculum that teaches and promotes evangelism. There is a IMUU website, and the sole focus of that website is UU Evangelism. So the UU program, Evangelism, Letting Our Love Reach Out, defined evangelism as, it is not a matter of converting someone to a different belief. It is a matter of welcoming those who are isolated and in need of community. Evangelism is based on communicating directly and honestly what our religious community means to us. That's what the UUA says. So, a few questions. So, who attended your first worship service at Cuff because you were invited by a friend, relative, or neighbor? Raise your hand. My wife-to-be asked me. All right. Now, who decided to drop in on a Sunday service because they heard a friend, relative, or neighbor talking about Cuff or about being a Unitarian Universalist? Anybody? Okay, people raising their hand. And did anybody decide to check Cuff out because they saw a social media post about Unitarian Universalists? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hands. Okay. All right. No one's had his hand up for every one of the questions. All right. So this is what I want to do now. I want to take a few minutes. And this is kind of it's an important part of what we're doing today. So if you were asked by a friend, neighbor, relative to be here, the question is, how did that invitation make you feel when you were invited? Before the service and after? Okay, and if you decided to come to Cuff and check things out because you heard about these Unitarians from a friend, what they were doing, talk about what caused you to learn about that. What did you hear that was important enough for you to come check out Cuff? And the third thing is similar, but if it was a social media post that drew you to having some curiosity about Cuff, talk about what it was about that social media post that caused that curiosity. Okay? Ready, set, go. So why did I decide to talk about UU evangelism today? There are 3 reasons. The first, because whether based on the 7 principles we as UUs followed for decades, or the current restatement of our values centered upon acts of love, the Unitarian Universalist faith has provided me with a framework for exploring my spirituality and my relationships with people and the world around me. And has made a significant difference in my life. And secondly, I deeply care about this congregation. We must remain a beacon of liberal religious thought and education in North Central Washington. The graying of our membership is a sign that we must increase, perhaps start, outreach efforts to intentionally attract and invite people representing all age groups. I'm not talking about growth just to be a bigger church. I'm talking about assuring the future health and longevity of our fellowship. And lastly, on a more personal basis, I have, in the distant past, found myself reluctant to share my Unitarian Universalist faith. Why? Well, I didn't want to hear from family, friends, neighbors, that my faith wasn't really a religion. It's just a social club for elites and libs. Or that I was a member of a cult. Oh, come on, you've all heard that, right? Oh, yeah. Or just that they may have thought less of me because of my UU faith. Now, why did I have those fears? Because I was unprepared to share my faith. I didn't have all the information I needed about being a Unitarian Universalist. And I couldn't fully and accurately explain why I believed practicing our faith was a pathway to a better world. I was uneducated. So, the word evangelism is Greek in its roots, and it comes from the word euangelon, which means in Greek, good news. So I guess the bottom line is, do we Unitarian Universalists have good news worth sharing? I believe we do. So the Reverend David Miller, who focuses his ministry on UU outreach, put it this way. I don't get it. If we truly believe in the power of this faith to change lives, if we truly try to practice the principles listed on our hymnals and websites, if we truly feel that our historical and theological lineage of love, infused with reasoned deeds over creeds and a desire for a just, kinder, and more compassionate world, why is there anyone not wanting to grow and sing Unitarian Universalism from the highest mountains and the tallest peaks? So, what is our good news? It's all based on love. Our good news is that every person possesses inherent worth and dignity. Our good news is that questions, not answers, are holy. Our good news is that love is stronger than fear. Our good news is that community can exist without demanding uniformity. Our good news is that people can grow, change, and become more compassionate. And our good news is that faith and reason can walk hand in hand. In our world increasingly divided by mistrust and hate, demagoguery, and the devaluation of human life, our good news shines a light on a path forward. Our values support a better, more just, more equitable, healthier world. So evangelism not only aligns with our values, it may actually be a moral imperative to tell people about Unitarian Universalism. Reverend Peter Morales was a past president of the UUA, and he wrote in 2000, "We have fallen into the trap of allowing evangelism to be associated with conversion as opposed to sharing something that is, for us, good news. If we see our churches as a place for fulfilling those basic human needs for meaning, affiliation, intimacy, and depth, then I believe not to be evangelistic is the moral equivalent of not housing the homeless and not feeding the hungry." I don't know how we can justify our reticence. So, my challenge to each of you is that we embrace evangelism. We must assure that this congregation remain active and healthy for decades, years after you and I have returned to our essence, our spirit, our soul, to the web of human consciousness. So let's prepare our congregation and ourselves for evangelism. How? Well, one, we can explore and study UU-based websites to self-educate ourselves on the values that are part of our faith and our history. We can support a renewed focus on and attend adult religious education classes for members and also for newcomers that include curricula on our UU history and our values so that we are all educated and able to share information. We can volunteer to help create and implement a CUF marketing plan. But social media, print ads, digital ads, even billboards, focusing on UU history, values, and social justice work. Now, as an aside, did you know that for years we ran a weekly ad in the Wenatchee World in the faith section, telling people who our speaker was going to be and what the topic was every week, without fail. Finally, we must support and volunteer for our children's religious education program. It is important that families see the value in a religious education curriculum that respects and honors all our faiths. Now, in our daily lives, what can we do? We can mention to other folks what we may be doing as a member of CUF. Not talking about values, just what am I doing? Working on food security, indigenous rights, housing security, or other social justice programs. Just share what you're doing in your life. And think about this for a moment. We tell our friends about what shows we're streaming, right? What books we're reading, what restaurants we enjoy. We share our vacation photos and experiences and life events on social media. So why are we reluctant to share something as important as our UU faith? So I'm going to suggest when the opportunity arises, don't hesitate. Share. And you might even put together your own little 60-second elevator speech. You know what I'm saying? Right? A little elevator speech you can give people about UU. And finally, invite a relative, friend, or neighbor to a worship service. Do you want them to have the value, or do you not want them to have the value of being a member of this congregation? So I know some of this may be a little uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Put it in perspective. It is necessary. It is something that has to be done if this fellowship will be continuing. So, may we nurture our faith in this fellowship by sharing the good news about Unitarian Universalism and CUF with others so that they may explore and benefit as they choose. And may we show our faith by our deeds so that when we are asked how we learn to live this way, we say, come and see. May it be so. We will now have a response to the sermon, We Shall Be Known. An offering is an ancient element of worship, and the act of giving, and regardless of amount, is a spiritual practice that expresses our thankfulness and our generosity, because our goal is to live these values in abundance. And joyfully sharing our gifts and strengths in service to the greater good is one way we create a beloved community. We will now receive the offering, and you may also give using the QR code that is in the order of service. And please enjoy our instrumental music, The Women of Ireland. Thank you for your attendance. It's encouraging. So may each of us find our voice, a voice that speaks proudly of being a Unitarian Universalist, a voice that shares how this congregation nurtures and encourages each other, a voice that shares and lives the values we hold sacred, a voice that shares the community created by the congregation by inviting people and working. Go forth, and the people said, Amen. And now, as we extinguish our chalice, please join me in saying our traditional words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of the community. These we carry in our hearts and embody in our lives until we are together again. And at the end of each service, it is our tradition to join hands, make a circle, and sing closing words. And if you're not comfortable with this, we respect your boundaries. Simply put your hands on your heart and connect with us in that way.
Right. My peace and love until we meet again. Every flame of peace and love until we meet again.
And join us for cocktail fellowship.
Let's